We're good. Got that out of the way.
Missed the two because they had like a triple header on NHL Network yesterday, and I was like, dang, I missed the first two games, and they both scored 7 goals. It's like Pittsburgh and Minnesota just throttled Colorado.
Like, again, I don't want to use preseason as like, oh, it's going to matter, because here's what I want to do. I want to be able to make at least 3 amendments on each side, right? I'll come out and be like, you know what, this is what I think for the beginning of the season. About November, be like, you know what, I can maybe make the first amendment if something isn't going exactly how I thought it was going to go. Be like, it was there. By December, that'd kind of be the time I make my second amendment to my picks right now. And then probably right around spring break when it's about locked, I'm like, well, like, dude came out of nowhere. Like, so, but, all right. You want to go first on your rankings here?
I can try.
You can try. Oh, go for it.
All right.
You got
Guess we're
Metropolitan, 1 through 8. Where do you?
All right. My Metropolitan, I got it switched up last year because Capitals won the division last year, won the Stanley Cup. Big whoop for them, first one. But I got Pittsburgh coming back this year to win the division. And then I got Washington finishing second behind them. I think Columbus is going to sneak in the 3rd spot this year. And then I have Philadelphia as my 4th spot, New Jersey finishing behind them. I know Hall had his impressive season last year. I'm not sure that can carry him as far this year. Then I have Carolina finishing in the 6th spot, and then followed up by the 2 New York teams, with the Islanders finishing 6th and the Rangers finishing last.
I like that. That's interesting. Your list is different than mine, thank God. For the most part. So,
like, well, we got the exact same list. So.
Yeah, that would be really weird. Like, you know what? We haven't seen each other in 3 weeks, but we have the exact same listing, and they're in for the same reasons now. So, for mine, I got Pittsburgh because, well, they've been talking about like, well, it's nice out Washington, whatever, but we don't like them, so we're gonna take it back and go for, what is it, 3 and 4 years and just be freaks. I think they can do it. Like, same team. Maybe they make a trade for some defensive players. Like, but I got Washington too because I think they only lost 2 players, 2 or 3 players. Their head coach left, but they picked up that assistant coach. We'll see. Ovechkin is probably going to do something freaky. I don't know. It'll be something. Ovi will do something. For my 3 spot, I got Philadelphia because I so I was like, you know what? They got that head in direction. They've been drafting really high end. Now I'm gonna probably regret it later, but that's where I'm at. I'm like Philly at 3. I put New Jersey over Columbus because, well, I just like New Jersey better than Tortorella, and I think they're a little more talented and free flowing. And Tortorella asked his team to block shots, so they'll probably be healthier than Columbus. We'll see. And then I have Columbus right next to them, but it could go either way. Honestly, it could go either way for me. I have Carolina at 6. I might regret that, but I feel like that's kind of fair. We'll see how that goes. Carolina is always like this big question mark, but they're also my dark horse, and I'll explain that in a second. And then I have Rangers and then Islanders, and I just have the Rangers because, well, the Rangers are probably just better than the Islanders. Not by much. Probably just by Hank. I'm going to be honest. Hank's probably going to win him some games.
Yeah.
Like,
as he always does.
Yeah. He tends to bail them out, so we'll see. I mean, they're rebuilding. Honestly, I think they should just trade everybody. Like, honestly, just trade everything that's not nailed down. The scoreboard, just everything. Seats, bar stools, whatever you got.
All of it.
All of it. So then we move into the Atlantic. You got 1 through 8.
All right. I got basically the same division winners last year. Tampa Bay is still a strong team. I think they're coming back. I have them picked to win the President's Trophy this year. Obviously, Steve Yzerman stepped down as GM. He's still going to be there in some capacity, but I still think Tampa Bay's they've built such a strong team. Added a couple of guys from the Rangers over the last couple of years, basically taking over their defensive core. Add Hedman in there. But I got them as my division winner. Maple Leafs obviously added John Tavares over the summer. I got them finishing second. They finished third last season in the division. But I got them moving up right behind Tampa Bay. Boston, I still think, has a strong team. Marchand had a great season last year. He's got that big contract he's playing for. So I got them in the 3 spot. Florida stays the same. I have them as my 4th team, possibly a bubble team in the playoffs. Detroit, I have them pick 5th. I'm not sure what their situation is right now. Obviously, Zetterberg had to retire, so they lose their captain. Who's going to be the new captain there? They got a couple of young players. But then I have Buffalo finishing 6th. They finished last in the Atlantic Division last year. I think losing O'Reilly is going to hurt them a little bit, but hopefully the addition of Darlene from the draft is going to help them out. I got Montreal in the 6th spot. They lost Domi for the preseason, which it really doesn't matter. Hopefully he'll be their big spot on offense coming into this season. They'll need a little bit with Pacioretty gone now over to Vegas. And then I have just the disaster that is the Ottawa Senators finishing in last place in the Atlantic Division. Obviously lose Carlson and Bobby Ryan possibly on his way out. Matt Duchene wanting out of Ottawa, even though that's where he wanted to go last season, getting out of Colorado. But I have them finishing last in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, about the same. I don't know. My notes from the previous weeks have been ever changing. Because when I wrote this down, it just, like, the news storm, let me put it that way, because I don't want to use the word hurricane right now, or tornado, just the ever-changing winds in the Atlantic Division moved everything around. So I didn't see Pacioretty being moved by Montreal, I'm going to be honest with you. Because, again, I read this article. They were like, we're going to use him more on the power play. We're going to try to up his goal production. We're going to try to find him a good centerman to work with. 30 minutes later, as soon as I get done reading that article, 30 minutes later, traded to Vegas. I was like, well,
I guess not.
I'm going to have to go back and revise it. So, my Atlantic thing, I don't have anyone winning the President's Trophy yet because I can't see that far into the future, and I don't really want to be like, just yet. I mean, I'll have it in the next week. Maybe after week 1, after the first, 10 regular season games, I might put my chips on somebody. I don't know, I'm playing a little conservative here, so. I put Tampa as 1 because when you go to 3 out of the 4 Eastern Conference Finals, you hold the same core of players for a decade, and you increase by taking people that are like, hey, we need to leave New York and just be better.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to win. At some point. Next 3 years, you have to win. If not, you're gonna be on 60 for 60 as one of the greatest teams that could never go to the finals.
Yeah. They're going to be the new Buffalo Bills.
It's going to be sad. It's going to be that documentary. Yeah. You're going to be that new documentary where it's like, we were so good for so long, and we steamrolled everybody, and we almost got to the dance. So at some point, they're going to win. I think Vasilevsky will take them there over Bishop.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bishop. Throwing you under the bus.
That's why they traded him out of Tampa.
Because Vasilevsky's a little bit of a freak with the behind-the-back spider catches. So I like Cooper as a coach. I don't think Johnston has been producing enough in the playoffs. And they've had Kucherov and Stamkos go off. But then they don't really have anybody follow through, pulls them out late because that's how Washington kind of beat them. Like Holtby made a few more saves. Their defense was a little bit better. I don't know. So my 2 spot is Toronto. Honestly, I think they could probably sneak in 1. They could probably just coast right on in there. They're a little bit younger. They're healthier. They have Babcock, which is probably the best coach, period, right now. Where you're like, oh, well, you know. Then they added Tavares, and he's looked really good. That's just Babcock's thing, you know. He goes strong down the middle. That way he can win. And then the only thing for Toronto is I think their goaltending might be an issue, and they might fix some issues on defense. Now, my 3 spot is Boston. Honestly, they could probably go 4, maybe. Boston usually is pretty solid. They really rely heavily on that top line. But they have that new coach in there. They're getting younger. They're in that weird state of like we're rebuilding without rebuilding, and it's like I hope that works out kind of thing because it could go either way.
It's like we could kind of win right now, but we could also try and build for the future at the same time.
Yeah, I like Bergeron, Marchand. If he would just stop licking people, was probably one of the most talented players. And Krug's really good. Like Krug's pretty good, and their defense has always been kind of solid. And I think I lost some pieces, so I think that's why I have them at 3. Honestly, they could probably be like a wild card 1, but I don't see them dropping to a wild card 2. I just don't. They're going to be pretty close to either. They're going to fall in there from 2 to wild card 1. I had Montreal at 4 because I was buying in really hard, but I lied to myself. And I still don't know where to go. So what I wrote down is anywhere from 4 to 6 has a chance of flipping. Because I'm not going to lie, I have a big bias towards Detroit. They make playoffs for 20 plus years. Sorry, that's just tradition at that point. You grow up watching probably the greatest dynasty. You kind of want them in playoffs. Make one where you're like, oh God, they didn't win. It's like Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh's been good for like 10. Detroit, good for a life. People died in Detroit knowing, like, hey, we won, we had a dynasty. Like, that's stupid. So, I have the original way it ranked it. I had Montreal at 4, Detroit at 5, and Florida at 6. And then I saw Florida kind of do some weird stuff, and their articles came out, and they were like, we're looking for this. I flipped Montreal and Florida, so I think I'm going to have Florida at 4, Montreal at 5, and Detroit at 6, because Detroit, again, lost their captain. They have health issues. Jimmy Howard's been kind of a letdown for the past couple of years, so I don't really know what's going on there. And then they released Mrazek to, I think, Philadelphia, and then he ended up in Carolina. So I think Detroit made the wrong decision on that, but not my program, not my people, not my job. So I have Detroit going in at 6. I have Buffalo at 7, but, again, you got to have a dark horse somewhere. And I go, if it isn't Detroit, then it's Buffalo for me. Like Buffalo as a city is like Cleveland, although it's a lot better. It's like, I'm just going to say that now. Like, if someone's like, hey, Nick, would you rather go to Cleveland or Buffalo? I'd probably choose Buffalo.
Anywhere but Cleveland.
Just as a town. It's like, just as a town. We got it's like Cleveland, you got football, you got basketball, you got some baseball. Buffalo has that. Buffalo's like a 30-minute ride to downtown New York. I go, it's homier, people are nicer, they win games, they'll win games.
They win a couple of games a year.
Yeah, they win a couple of games. That's just me. I'll choose Buffalo, kind of like my dark horse, kind of like Carolina, where they could kind of do it, where everyone would be like, wow, they came out and be like, no, they had the ingredients there. I don't really know. They're still, to me, Buffalo's still missing some pieces. And, they just, it's different. They're young, they're building, they signed a bunch of people, they have, plenty of talent, so it's like, I don't know what's wrong there. I don't know what's wrong. They could honestly be in the wild card race if they really wanted to. Now, Ottawa is, what I have written down here is Ottawa is my 8th seed. They did the right thing. They told their fan base, hey, we're going to be rebuilding. But now you got to wonder, who are they going to keep? Right, so Ottawa is my 8th seed. Because Well, they lost Carlson after I wrote this down, and then we were going to play that fun game of where was Carlson going to go, and that was going to be the next thing we played, but ended up in San Jose. So those are my teams. All right.
Move on to our bubble teams for the year. Who might get in, might get out. All right, I think I have this wrote down in each division, kind of, but I think that the two, just my predictions, not even discussing the bubble teams just yet, but I have Philadelphia as my first wild card. I think they still got a strong kind of core group there with Giroux and Simmons. You got Voracek, Ghost on the back end. It's really been good for that team lately. I think they sneak in as the first wild card. I think they're a little bit stronger. I have New Jersey finishing in that 8th spot as the second wild card. I think Hall can get them there. Lack is going to be the question there in goal with Schneider. He's down with injury as of right now. It's just preseason. But will he be ready to start the regular season? So I have them as a couple of teams. Obviously, Columbus, I have them kind of in that area. I still think they're going to finish top 3 in the Metro. You got Tortorella signed a 2-year extension, but then you have kind of the drama that Ottawa sort of had, but it's with Artemi Panarin, and they're talking about possibly moving him. Does that affect his play this season? And they're also talking about possibly moving Bobrovsky. I don't know why they would do that, but maybe it's just a rumor, an article that I saw. But they're like, maybe if Panarin goes, Bobrovsky might be next. And that's your Vezina caliber goaltender that's kind of carried your team to a couple of playoffs, fallen to Pittsburgh a couple of times, but he's really been strong for them in net. Florida, I could see possibly as a wild card team. They kind of had their entire team taken from them by Vegas, so they had the pieces there. They had the coach there, but I'm not sure that they can really. That's why I call them a bubble team. I'm not sure they're one of the stronger teams to get in there. Carolina's kind of an interesting situation. A lot of pieces from Chicago came over. You've got Darling back there in net. You got Crawford. I think Crawford's in Carolina now. Pretty sure the goalies have changed so much I can't keep up with anything. But I think
Crawford
Darling
was still on.
Not Crawford. Who am I thinking of? Somebody else.
Mrazek, right?
Yeah, Mrazek. So you got Mrazek and Darling over there. And Islanders, I'm not sure they could really be a bubble team. They lost Tavares, but you add Trotz as your head coach. You've got a couple of young players with, who was it? Not Bo Horvat. Who was the rookie on this team? Or was the rookie last season? Barzell. Trying to keep up with all the Bs. But he was great for them. They got Brock Nelson back there. I think they got a pretty good team. I'm not sure they can get in. But I have Philadelphia and New Jersey as my sort of bubble teams to get into the playoffs this year.
I don't know about the New York Islanders. I'm going to be honest with you. They lost Hamnick. He went over to Calgary. They lost Tavares. They lost Oposo. I think they replaced Halak. I think Halak is either there, but he's never healthy. And then I don't know if Matt Martin came back from Toronto. I don't know. They're missing pieces, but they're young, and it's just, I don't know. I don't see them making play. I just, based off the teams I have listed, where I could say like my 3 teams are a lock for my listings, or from the Metropolitan, it's Pittsburgh, Washington, and Philadelphia as like 1, 2, 3. And then I have Tampa, Toronto, and Boston. So knowing that, I have to rank them. And then knowing like the 5th seed really doesn't make any difference. So like Detroit probably wouldn't make it, even though I hope they make it. Again, this might be something where I change late if they're playing well and be like, okay, like I would consider them a bubble team, but off of like my listings now, no. And from Montreal, I like Montreal. I'll buy into it. After watching one preseason game, I'll buy into the new Montreal. Terrible idea probably, but I'll buy into it.
Until
So
after
my
the first 10
Eastern
games.
bubble teams are, yeah, until the first 10 games he gets hurt or something, and then I'll be like, well, you're done now, like, panic now. Now my Eastern bubble teams are Montreal, Carolina, with a big question mark, because again, Carolina has the potential to do it. They have pieces from Chicago. They have decent goaltending. Their coaching staff is like branches off of Detroit, so they have like Detroit coaching staff with Chicago players. Stahl will probably have a big season. They did lose Hainsey and Skinner, but I think they have those guys replaced with a couple people. I just hope they have a better season. Like 2 seasons ago, I think they were a couple points out from making the playoffs, and then last season they were kind of a disappointment, and then so this season I don't know. They're really hard to predict, but I'll put them in there with a big question mark. I put New Jersey in as a bubble team because again they mostly relied on Hall. I expect more out of Heischer. I do. We'll see. But I have New Jersey as a bubble team. I think they go in as a wild card 1, maybe 1 or 2. They'll be right there. Columbus. Columbus always leads big questions. And again, like what you said, we're going to trade this person. We're thinking about trading these people. Just, if Columbus makes it, play Pittsburgh. That's it. That's what I ask for. Maybe that's what the rest of the population asks for. I just want that. It's going to be a bloodbath. Tortorella hates Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I can't blame him. I get it. I just like seeing the bloodbath. That's just me. Fights everywhere. I love it. Florida. Florida's another bubble team, but I think they might make it, depending on how many points they get. I think you need, 95 to 97 points to make it in the East. I think it's a little safer. I think in the West, in the East, you need 95 to 97 points, and you'll make a wild card. In the West, you need 97 points and above, period. Like, if you don't have 97 points or higher, you're not making the playoffs. So the East is a little more balanced in that way. But Florida and Montreal and New Jersey are probably the teams that I will probably enjoy watching the most. Columbus. I think they play better on the road than they do at home, but I do like the cannon. Idea.
They use it for the third jersey now.
Dude, I like the third jersey. It's like I like that idea. I like the concept of that, and I'm happy that we got third jerseys. I think you should wear it like at least once or twice a month, kind of deal. Maybe on like a Thursday night game. The NFL does this really weird thing, right, where they put the color rush jerseys in on the Thursday night games. First off, Thursday night games in the NFL are probably the worst idea ever, and then some of their color rush jerseys are terrible. So the NHL kind of has that right. I don't know, man. We put it in on Monday. Put it on like a Tuesday when like you need something interesting to watch. Make sure they're like decent teams, right?
Yeah.
Color rush them. Well, don't use color rush, but third jersey those people. I like it. I like the idea. We need more variety. Christmas Day, stuff like that.
Something Black Friday. I don't know.
You see the Sharks ones? Those came out last night. They put Carlson in it. They moved him out there. They skated him out there. They put it all over Instagram. It was nice.
It's great.
They were slick.
San Jose is just winning with the jerseys.
Yeah, dude. I love the teal. Teal's different from everybody else. I honestly hate black jerseys. I just do. Like, I get some team has to wear, like, black jerseys. I hate black jerseys. I hate watching
Islanders.
Professional teams wear black jerseys. That was so bad. Dude, just go back to the fish stick looking thing.
Just go back to
that was bad.
The blue and orange or whatever you're trying to go for there.
They had that one where it was like, what is it? They had orange, teal, blue, white. They had like 4 colors on the thing. It was ugly as hell.
But it's better than
before
just
you go
plain black and white.
That was so bad. That was so bad. I don't know what they were thinking. Here's the thing. Islanders are just in a terrible spot between moving stadiums, moving people, and then picking jerseys. Like, look, that was... Just focus on draft picks and your stadium. It was so bad. Okay. So we got the rankings and the bubble teams out of the way. I need a pencil. Handy dandy pencil. We were going to play, I know, this is going to be a big treat. We were going to play Carlson, start with Ottawa, or finish in Ottawa. And, well, he didn't start with Ottawa.
He's not going to finish with Ottawa.
So that game's off the table. He isn't going to, he might. They might trade him back for a couple picks. It'd be really, really weird.
San Jose will get the better deal.
It's really weird. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question because I think it'd be really fun. And maybe, if anyone cares to watch or tweet or whatever you want to do, depending on what we do on this, how much ever you guys know, do you think the Leafs, I mean, they're favored to win everything. The Leafs are favored to win everything. Are you buying into that?
I'm not quite certain yet. I'd probably like to see them play in the regular season. They were strong last year. I had them picked to, I'm pretty sure, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I had the Capitals and the Leafs in there, and obviously everybody ran into Tampa Bay and Boston, and then obviously Vegas ran through everybody else. But I just think, I don't know. You got Freddie Anderson back there, Ned, if he can stay healthy for them. I'm not sure what options they really have at backup if he goes down. But obviously Babcock back there, he's got a good lineup to work with. Obviously the addition of Tavares into that veteran group with Marlowe and Marner, Austin Matthews, that entire lineup, Hyman. They've got a good lineup there in place. I think the salary cap might hurt them over the next couple of years. You have the arbitration possibly coming up with Matthews once his entry-level deal is up. How much money he's going to get. He could possibly base his deal off of what Tavares got, maybe. I'm not saying that he's at that level that Tavares is at, but he could be within a couple of years. So they're going to have to play the salary cap game like Chicago did whenever they won. But I think they have the pieces in place there. If they can just stay healthy, adding Tavares in there gives them more scoring than relying on the younger players. So I think I could buy into them winning the Stanley Cup this year. It's just who they're going to be facing. Those strong teams like Washington and Pittsburgh that basically stayed the same or added a couple of pieces over the summer. That's really going to come into question whether they can compete with those teams that have been there. Tampa Bay obviously has a strong core group that's going to be there in place for a while. And Boston as well. They're getting younger and younger each season. So there's some powerhouses over in the East that they're going to have to compete with, but I think there's a good possibility they could win the Stanley Cup this year. I could buy into that.
Yeah, I like them. I do. I don't know. I think their goaltending's an issue. I think they're trying to improve on their back end. I think goalies are like, how do I just to make this make sense. Goalies are hard to develop, but goalies are even harder to find that are going to be like super solid all the way around, because then you're going to have to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would equate that as into like a quarterback. I mean, they don't touch the puck as into like scoring goals, but like I think you just got to pay them, because like as long as they can make big saves, you're good and stay healthy. Toronto's offense isn't going to be an issue. I honestly don't think that's an issue. You got goal scorers all over the place and playmakers. It's about probably getting their defense in order, making sure their goaltender's pretty good. I think they're still running with Anderson. He's not terrible. He's not like, but I think that's probably going to be the weakest thing. I would say I'd love to watch Toronto play on like a Wednesday night, but NBC's not going to do that because they don't have beef with Washington and they don't have beef with Pittsburgh. So they might probably fill in on a Saturday night primetime game, and I would want to watch. Probably honestly got to watch Pittsburgh play Toronto, Washington play Toronto, and then maybe a couple teams out east where you're like, okay, I want to see Toronto play Vegas, and then I probably want to see Toronto play San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's gonna watch Toronto and Edmonton play each other because
Oh, yeah,
that's just
of
a high
course.
dollar ticket game. But those are the games where I think you have to watch. Like you're gonna have to watch, and then you're gonna have a better feel for what it is. Maybe teams like Philadelphia, when they're a little bit chippier, a little more physical. Boston's a little more physical with Toronto. That's the issue is can't because in the playoffs, Matthews and Marner weren't like they're non-existent. So they were shut down by better defensive teams. I think Babcock's going to fix that into like how can we get you guys a little more open, get you a little more space, and so with the addition of Tavares, it's like yeah, and then everyone's still watching that highlight from a year where Tavares is taking on like 2 or 3 Philadelphia Flyers, comes out of the corner boards after like being off tackle essentially and makes a pass. It's like okay, like that guy's gonna really open you up some space.
Yeah.
Like people are trying to tackle the dude. Like so, I think that'll be good. I'm honestly gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be disappointed if they don't make playoffs. Like people in Toronto, that's okay to riot. Your team doesn't make playoffs, riot. I'm fine.
It's like you shouldn't be missing the playoffs with the team
Depending
you
on who
have.
you yeah, riot. That's an acceptable time to riot. I'm not saying go riot. I'm saying I would just be okay
It's
with
like,
you
well,
rioting at that point. Like how big it is up there. Like do it. Like do it. Like I, I'm not gonna say go do it. I'm just gonna say
if they
I
haven't
would
done it after
disagree with
losing
it.
the Game 7 with Boston, they're not going to.
Yeah. And even then, with Game 7 with Boston, you came from behind. So you were like, okay, we're young, we're inconsistent, we're making playoffs, we're missing a few pieces. And honestly, Boston got kind of lucky. And then they ran into Tampa, and Tampa was just like, hey, we can score with our third and fourth lines, and we can do that. So, again, their offense is fine, their defense is going to be a little iffy, and their goaltending, we'll see. But I want them to make second round. I'd be okay with them if they lost in the second round. First round, I'd be like, wow, like heads are going to start rolling. I don't know. Someone's not going to get paid. People are going to be. You're going to have more questions. Second round would be a little bit better. I want you guys to get to like the conference finals and then go to the dance. I want you guys to be like the top 4 contenders because someone's going to play Pittsburgh and Washington. Are probably going to play in the first or second round. You guys can beat Washington. We'll see. Okay. What do you want to talk about next? We got the entire state of New York. Carolina, Montreal, New Jersey, and Florida, if you want to talk about those teams. We can talk about, well, Ottawa was talking about their future last night, and they go, well, it's just going to be some time. It's going to be some time. Yeah. And I think we talked about the top 3 Atlantic. So we got those 3 topics left if you care to choose one of those.
We can talk about New York, since there's a lot going on there.
New York. All right.
I mean, the Rangers are kind of the Rangers are kind of back in rebuild mode. Obviously, they sold off all their pieces. Nash off to Boston, but they added McQuaid from Boston, which might help them on the back end a little bit. Maybe block some shots. That way, Hank doesn't have to stop 45 a night. But really, I don't know if they have that much offense there anymore. You still have Kreider, who's there. I'm not sure. Jimmy Hayes, I guess. A couple of pieces that they still have there. I'm not real sure what to think of Buffalo yet. Obviously, they had the first overall pick this year with Darlene that helped them out on the defensive end, but they lose Ryan O'Reilly, so they lose some of that offense. Eichel obviously is going to have to carry the team once again. It doesn't have much help around him, so I'm not sure their offense is going to really carry them this year. They lose Leonard, so they're still kind of in that situation where they don't have much goaltending like maybe the Rangers do. Lundqvist can win them a couple of games a year. I'm not sure whoever replaces Leonard is going to be able to do that. Then obviously you add Barry Trotz over on Long Island. them and their situation with, do they want to move back to Nassau Coliseum? They don't really want to be in Barclays Center anymore. It's not really a hockey venue. But I think the Islanders can do all right without Tavares. Obviously, he's a big piece to that team. Maybe Trotz coming over from Washington can help them a little bit more defensively, help them try and shore up that defensive game. But I really don't know what to think of New York. They had, not sure that Buffalo's really been a good team for the last decade or so. Islanders have been to the playoffs a few times. The Rangers have struggled the last couple of years, but they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals back whenever Brodeur was still playing for the Devils. So you kind of had that going on there, but I'm not really sure if any of them are going to be playoff teams this year. If anybody is going to make it, I would say it'd be the Rangers, solely based on Lundqvist's play and if he can stay healthy.
I don't know. I think New York is just a very weird spot. Because at one point or another, each team has been very good. And the Rangers have been notably good in the 90s. And the Islanders were good before them. And Buffalo was good in the late 90s or early 2000s. I would say if I had to go one team that could probably make playoffs out of those three, I'd probably say Buffalo, because they have Poso and Eichel and Reinhardt, and I think they have, I want to say they have Vanek or somebody. They have somebody else that's there. No, it's not off the top of my head. And they have Dahlin. Their coaching, I don't know who their head coach is. I know they had, what's his name? Dan Biles or whatever from Pittsburgh. And I liked him there because it was just like, oh, just give us some time. We're going to rebuild. We're gonna do some things. New York's made some, like, free agency moves. I think you could probably, if you're in New York, if you don't draft high, which you lucky enough to get to draft high, you could probably I would say you're at the point to where you're like, if we're going to be good, play the free agent market. If you can't get any free agents, or you get some good free agents coming in, then you might be able to move some pieces around. Like you could trade for player, or you can trade like a defenseman for some picks. Like you might be able to start gambling like that, but that. The best state of winning than any other team. The Rangers are really weird. New head coach. I don't know what his system's going to be. They kind of have bigger bodies, but I don't think New York's going to be like a physical team. They're physical, but they were also running the stretch pass, able to move the puck a lot. Again, the biggest weakness is him playing the puck, so he's on this weird kind of way of, like, goalies aren't playing the puck yet, but every other goalie is able to. Like, every other goalie in the league is able to. Lundqvist is not.
Yeah.
His health is always a big issue. Putting in the workload like that. They have Zuccarello and Kreider. They still have a couple of their core. I just don't know if you would be like, we could trade Kreider to somewhere else. And if you do start trading players, right? Like they're not going to trade Lundqvist, and they're probably not going to trade Zuccarello. But if you were to start moving players in New York, probably don't trade them within your own division, and don't trade them within your own conference. Start sending them out west. Stop sending them to Tampa. You're gonna have to play Tampa. Stop sending them to Tampa.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. Stop sending teams to Tampa. Tampa should just be called, New New York. So, the Islanders. Oh my God, the Islanders. Okay. Trotz won't fix. Trotz is a good coach. Trotz is honestly probably going to coach there for 3 years. In those 3 years, you're going to get a couple more draft picks. You're going to tank. You're just going to tank. You're just going to suck. You'll be lucky to win 20 games, kind of thing. I think they're going to tank, like, not just on purpose kind of tanking, like, oh, we suck, so therefore we're going to tank. Like, you're just going to be playing people that aren't ready for that level yet, and then trying to make it work. I hope you go back to your Coliseum. Actually, I hope you demolish the Coliseum and rebuild it, kind of thing, and make it more modern. Get out of the Barclays Center. Get out of Brooklyn. Just get out of Brooklyn. No, I don't really know New York off like the top of my head. And looking at the boroughs, maybe someone can send a map and explain it to me and be like, "This is where this is. This is where this is. This is where that is." You just get out of Brooklyn. Like nothing really good happens out of Brooklyn. Kind of.
Yeah.
At the moment, like just get out. And the Barclays Center, that was just a disaster. Like even in year one, your stadium was falling apart. Like it wasn't like the painted glass wasn't. No, it was like your boards are shifting.
This is made for basketball, not hockey.
Yeah. And then a big annoyance was like your scoreboard wasn't center. Thank God. Like he was like, I want to travel and go watch a game in every stadium. Not there. Maybe that'd be like the first place I would go. I can only go up from here. Like that. That'd be it.
Can't get any worse.
Can't get any worse. You really can't. Maybe some rats in Florida. That'd be about it. But even then, that's part of tradition. I would be okay with that. Yeah. I don't know. Trotz will be there. I think he's going to be there for like 1 or 2 years, kind of, because he's more, I would say, defensive-minded than offensive-minded, and he's more about, like, can you guys play defense as a unit than being like, let's move stretch passes. He's probably, like, honestly, he's going to be there and then probably retire. Like, he retired on a high note. I think he probably should have stayed in retirement. But that would be my thing for Trotz. Trotz is going to come in, maybe do, like, 2 or 3 years, call it quits. They're going to have a new head coach. They're going to have a couple more draft picks, and they're going to have, like, more of a defensive position, solid mind. That's where I would see the Islanders going. Buffalo. Honestly, Buffalo's probably just missing a few pieces, and then just be better. And the Rangers, you could, going back to the Rangers, you could tell a couple seasons ago when you traded, I think they had Duclair first. I think they had Duclair. And they traded him to Arizona. And then they traded another one of their prospects away. And when you realize that they're starting to trade prospects away, it means they're actually trying to win a cup. And then when they didn't, it means that team's in trouble. And then everyone needs to get out. And so everyone was starting to get out. So it was like you could see that was the issue. And I disagreed with moving Duclair because, like, obviously he's good enough to continue to play. He's in Chicago. I don't know how much ice time he's going to get in Chicago. But I think, and same with Arizona. When Arizona started moving pieces around, like, we'll get rid of Domi and Duclair, and we'll bring in this person, and we'll release these people, and it's like you guys were building something, and now it's kind of all over the place. The New York Rangers seem to kind of be doing that now. Hopefully, your players like Kreider and Zuccarello, if they don't have any trade clauses and they're playing really well, and you can get draft picks, is what you need to start doing. If you can get draft picks from New York, like anywhere, like you trade this person, you get 2 draft picks, start doing that. Start building. There's plenty of young talent. You're going to have a new head coach in there that's hopefully a little more defensive-minded before you start getting offensive-minded people. That's what I would want. Is start trading, get those draft picks back in, really start going for the long haul. Now, I'll say let's go to Ottawa's future. I'll start there. You traded Carlson for Chris Tierney, and I think a couple of picks, and I think Ottawa did that really smartly. I think they did that really well. Smartly. Yeah, they did that really smartly. They did that I like that. I like that. They got somebody that will get them puck possession, has time in the league, and you can maybe move him later or kind of have some building blocks, and then you got you got some draft picks. And that's what you would need if you're Ottawa. You need every single draft pick you can get. Any form, anywhere. Because again, like you have Mark Stone was a 4th or 6th round draft pick. Jamie Benn was like a 6th round draft pick. Klingberg was a 6th. Like there's potential there from the lower end draft picks that you see in the NHL that you don't see in any other sport. Like if you get drafted in the 3rd round of the NBA, you're probably never going to see the court. If you get drafted in like I don't know how many rounds in baseball there are, but if you get drafted in like the 5th round in baseball, probably not ever going to see the field like in the professional leagues. Football, you get drafted in like the 7th round, you might not even make the roster that year. So I think hockey's a little more balanced as into like if you're able to do something really, really well and you're a low end pick, you can kind of surprise everybody. So if you can start taking in picks if you're Ottawa, start doing that. Anderson, I didn't realize he was that old, and they're going to hold on to him. He's supposed to have an up year this year, but they're going to hold on to him. You have Kachuk, you have Stone. I don't know what you're going to do with Duchesne. You could probably move Duchesne for a couple draft picks. Honestly, like you could send Duchesne back out. Where could you send Duchesne? You could send Duchesne to L.A., Anaheim. I don't know if you'd get anything out of Edmonton. Like, I don't know if you get any draft picks, and I don't know if you would have any time. You could probably send him to Calgary if you wanted to get rid of him. I think it'd be really funny if you sent him back to Colorado, but only Colorado wants him back.
Yeah, I think that bridge is burnt.
Who else could you send him to? Like, he's more skilled, so he isn't super big, so I don't see him playing well in St. Louis or Winnipeg. Maybe you could put him out in Minnesota, because again, I'm not about trading him to somebody like in the East. Like, let's see, I have this written down somewhere. What's the next page?
Or Vegas.
You could.
Vegas seems to turn players' careers around.
They put him in a more offensive position, but yeah, you could put him in Vegas. Like, okay, if you're Ottawa, don't send him to Tampa, don't give him to Toronto, and don't give him to Boston. Do not give him to Montreal, because you play those teams. 5 to 7 times a year? You don't want to see him 5 to 7 times. See him once or twice, maybe 3 to 4 if you trade him to like Columbus. Put him in New Jersey. New Jersey will give you picks for that, or send him to the Islanders, but he's not going to go there, right? He has a list of no teams that you want to be traded to, so the Islanders and the Rangers are going to be off. Maybe Carolina, if you could convince them, if they're playing well. Or put him in, you could put him in Philadelphia, but I don't see him embracing that culture of we're going to be hard-nosed, physical, and we're going to fight. Like, seriously, last year they broke some dude's jaw.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see him doing that. They broke Hagelин's jaw. Like, I don't see him fitting in well there. And Pittsburgh won't have any room for him for his contract. So, like, you probably going to trade him to Pittsburgh. And who are you going to get back out of it? So, I think he would go. I think if Ottawa moves him, he would be west. It'd be out west, probably Vegas. You could put him with Kovalchuk. That'd be really interesting. And Kopitar, Doughty. It'd be an interesting duo. You could probably... Anaheim would probably take him, but Anaheim plays physical too, so maybe Vegas. Maybe San Jose, you seem to be on good terms with them, but I don't know how well your fan base is going to react to that, so.
Yeah.
We'll see. You move forward with, you definitely hold on to Stone. Do not let Stone go. And then you could probably move Bobby Ryan, but Bobby Ryan needs to have like a really, really, really like good half season, like on the upswing. Like he's scoring like, every other game. He's scoring like 2 or 3 times a week. He's making like just an up season in order to move him. That way it piques interest. You don't want to sell him on a downswing because then you're not going to get much for him. So those are my thoughts on Ottawa.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that last part on there, talking about Ryan. He probably needs to have around that 20-goal potential for a team to move him at that trade deadline to get any good pieces back in return for him. I mean, he was pretty great whenever he was with Anaheim. Had those, but he was playing alongside Getzlaf and Perry, so it's kind of a easy transition there. He's kind of the only guy in Ottawa along with Duchesne Uh, Obviously, you had the drama with Hoffman and Carlson over there. Carlson gets traded. Hoffman gets moved to San Jose and then gets moved elsewhere. So there's kind of a lot of pieces that they don't really want to hang on to, but if they trade them to other teams, those teams in turn could turn them back to another team and try and get a better deal out of it. So that's the hard part with being Ottawa management, I think, right now, is trying to get the best that you can for what you have. And like you said, Ryan, he needs to have that potential if he wants to be one of those big trade deadline pieces. He needs to be at least around the 15 to 20 goal mark by the time you get to February if you want him to be a big piece on another team and try and get those draft picks back. They've really got to start their rebuild. Obviously, they get rid of Carlson. That's one big part, or one big stepping stone to that, making that rebuilding part. But I just think that their system doesn't really work with what they have. Their management, I think they need to get new management. Apparently, they just, according to fans, they have no idea what they're doing. And the fan base is really upset with all the moves that they made, even though you basically knew they were going to get rid of Carlson. It was just when and where it was going to happen. I just don't think they're happy with the return that they got for him. And I think just mismanagement has really driven this team down over the last couple of years. And like you said, with Anderson aging on the back end, you have a 40-year-old goaltender. Who do you have that's behind him is going to really step up and take over that number one role? Are you going to make a trade? You have Condon back there that's a younger goaltender, but can he be a number one? There's really a lot of questions surrounding what the management's going to do with this team. But it's interesting to see where they're going to go now that Carlson's gone. Who's going to be the new captain, if there is one at all, for Ottawa? I think they start the year kind of like San Jose did a couple of seasons ago, where they just have alternates on their team. There's not really one captain there. So does that really build a divide between the team and management, that there's no leadership in place? But it's going to be interesting to see. I think Ottawa, it's going to take some time to rebuild that team with some of the things that happen between management and the players, management and the fans. I think just the ultimate goal is to move your general managers out and get a new team in there that can really speak to the fan base, but also is going to make smart moves for your team now and in the future.
I don't know. It's going to come down to how is your management going to sell this new concept to your players, as in okay, we're going to keep Anderson because I think he's 34. We have him under contract. He's been very solid for us. We'll keep him because we know he's going to have some good games. He's going to have a bad season, then he's going to bounce back. So I think you still have Cody Stee. You hold him as you know what, this can be kind of like a 30-minute-a-night guy. We can get a lot out of him. Obviously you're going to keep Kachuk. You're going to keep Stone as their younger guys. I know Stone looks like he's 40, but he's fourth-year NHL guy, so you're going to keep him. I think you signed him. Bobby Ryan needs probably a really, really good centerman that can distribute the puck and buy in space. And Duchesne, I could see them moving Duchesne. But right now they both said okay, we're just going to focus on the job at hand. I would start making a list of teams okay, if I had to go somewhere, or if you're going to say we're looking at new options of this is what we're going to do. They don't have an identity yet. Oh, we're going to do this, or we're going to have you'll be moving a lot of people. You'll be moving a lot of people, or you'll be intaking a lot of things. But this year is not going to look pretty. I don't know what you're going to do with your management. Don't know. I really don't know. It was not looking good up there, but I don't know. Can't go anywhere. You're going to go down, but can't fall too far. I think they might get the first pick of the draft. If not them, Maybe, maybe, maybe the Islanders. I think I have the Islanders, the Rangers, and Ottawa in competition for the first round pick. um, okay, so Florida. Let's do this. Florida, to me, looks a little bit better than New Jersey, and I'll say that as into like as much as I like Luongo on Twitter. He's funny. He just doesn't seem to be as flexible, as quick, as mobile as he was in Vancouver. I don't know who their backup is. I think they got rid of some people in the backup area. If Bobby Lou goes down, I don't really know what Florida's going to do. They have Ekblad and some decent defenders, so I like them there. And then offensively, they're pretty good. So I think they outweigh New Jersey when it comes to like balance. I think New Jersey just is healthier, slightly more talented, and more experienced at things. Montreal, I really, really like Montreal now because they've been moving. They picked up Tatar. They got younger. They're planning on being a little bit quicker. Now, I don't think they're going to be amazing. They're going to be good. They're not going to be great. They're going to be good. And I think they'll be decent. But that's where I like that. And my heart just goes with Carolina. Because it's just like you have all these pieces. And you have all these players. And you have so much potential. And then you let me down every year. And the one year I'm not going to buy into you, you're actually going to do something and you're going to break my heart. Here's looking at you, Winnipeg, because that's what happened to me. So that's how I think about those four teams. I think about Carolina, Montreal, New Jersey, and Florida. I think Montreal is probably the better team out of those four. I think it's Montreal, Florida, and then New Jersey, then Carolina. But I think they're all kind of right there. They're all like right next to each other. But I like Montreal. I like the direction they're trying to head. They look, again, I know it's only preseason. It's only one game. They haven't played in the regular season. They look decent. They look good. I know it was 3-2. They probably shouldn't have let in those 2 goals. It was really funky. Like the second goal they let in was like from the corner, so it was just really weird. But the first goal was just like a broken play. Montreal's just better defensively. Like they play really, really good defense. They have like a lot of defense, and I don't know if they moved any of those. So I just like that. I like Montreal. I like Montreal as a wild card. I'll say it. I like Montreal as a wild card. Florida's a wild card. New Jersey might be knocked out this year because they have nobody they're not as balanced as the team. But we'll see. See how that goes.
I don't know. I like Carolina. Like you said, they've kind of been building those pieces, getting pieces from Chicago, different places around there, kind of becoming Chicago 2.0. But I think they just have to find the right line combinations. I mean, you've got so many pieces there. Like you said, you moved Skinner out this year. But I think just the line combinations and trying to find players that mesh with each other. New Jersey's another one. You got Heischer, you've got Hall. You added Vatanen over there to kind of shore up your defense, but he can add to your offense as well. I think the big question with New Jersey, like you said, is consistency. I mean, they only have so many pieces. They're not as balanced down the middle as other teams. Montreal, like you said, they've gotten younger, added Domi. They've added other players into that system. You've got Gallagher, that's kind of, he's your physical player, but he adds offense as well. He can add another 10, 15 goals for you. Obviously, the health of Carey Price is going to be the big issue with Montreal, as it is every season. He's their number one goaltender and kind of carries them on that back end. You've got Jordy Ben back there. You've got different players like that. You lose Pacioretty, which kind of hurts your offense, hurts your power play a little bit. Florida, I don't know. It's kind of a melting pot of players there. Ekblad is your young leader on the back end. You've got good offense up front. You had a couple of players that you lost to Vegas in the expansion draft last year that were big pieces for you. You lose your coach. I think they're kind of in not a rebuilding process, but they've got a young team and they're trying to find the right pieces to put in there. They might need a little bit more veteran presence. who's going to be their goaltender once Luongo either retires or is shipped out, whatever happens over the next year or two with that situation. But if I was to rank anybody, I'd probably say the same. The Canadians are up towards the top, but I would pick New Jersey, then Carolina, and I would have Florida a little bit towards the bottom. I think Carolina kind of has a chance to be up there, but Montreal adding those younger pieces makes them more of a viable option to get into the playoffs this year.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I really think again, Florida doesn't get a lot of broadcasting time, and neither does Carolina. New Jersey's going to kind of fly under the radar now. I think New Jersey will probably get a little. I think Montreal's going to get the most airtime out of any of those teams, which is probably why I'm going to have like bigger eyes towards them. But Florida, I just have Florida. You know, they're not awful. I think the East is there. Like I just like Florida. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to say this because I'm going to edit this really really hard. Let's see. So Montreal has the most broadcasting. So I'll probably be more eyes towards Montreal. Florida, I think, has more of a balanced team than New Jersey, but New Jersey, now that none of the New Yorks are good, New Jersey will probably get more coverage than Florida. And then Carolina is just in the middle of kind of nowhere. But if Carolina starts picking up momentum, and that's just one of those things where it's like you're going to have to sit there and watch. Now, if they start playing really, really bad hockey, like they're not connecting passes, they're not shooting, they're being steamrolled, then they're going to let me down. But we'll see. I think Carolina might be able to make a move for somebody later on in the year, and I think Florida might be able to attract somebody. Montreal doesn't seem to move too many people around that often. They don't really make too many trades. And New Jersey might be able to pull something out. I don't think, Montreal doesn't really move too many people, but the other three teams might move somebody. So, we'll see. You view the East and the Western Conference as a whole. Not individual teams, not comparing them from one team to another. Like, as divisions, as conferences, where do you see the East compared to the West?
I see the East as a more skilled, maybe, conference than the West is, just not as physical. The Eastern, I don't really know how to compare the East to the West, but I would say the East kind of has more consistency to it than the West has. Obviously, you have teams, Pittsburgh and Washington there every season, Tampa Bay, Boston, teams like that. The West, it seems to change every season or so with your playoff teams, with the Central Division, the Pacific Division. I think the East, to me, the one word that I could say compared to the West is consistency.
I like that. I view the East as just, like, this is how, I've said this, I view the East kind of less talented than the West. And the West is just faster, more explosive. Like, they're going to have more goals. They're going to have faster games. I think the East looks really, really slow at times. Like, New York looked really slow last year. But they had, like, that slightly, like, silent speed. Pittsburgh speed always surprises me because Pittsburgh just kind of looks slower, and then they get there and they're faster. Tampa's just a powerhouse. Tampa's probably the fastest team down there, in my opinion. Them, Pittsburgh, and New York for, like, the last year, fastest teams. But, like, Dallas skates really fast. Colorado, Vegas was super fast. And Washington managed to bottle up their speed. But to me, the East is more, just slightly more balanced than the West. And I would refer to balanced as in, like, you can have someone from the Metropolitan, you can have 4 teams from the Metropolitan make the playoffs, and you can have 4 teams from the Atlantic make the playoffs. So you can have 4 and 4, right? You could have, like, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, and then, like, let's say Montreal make it, and then you can have Pittsburgh, Washington, Philadelphia, and, like, New Jersey make it. And you can have 4 and 4. In the West, like, if you didn't have Vegas, like if you take Vegas out of the equation, you would probably have 5 teams from the Central Division make it, and then 3 teams from the Pacific make it. And that's how I view it. Like, now last year they had 4 and 4 teams go in. Now I don't really know how that's going to change. I think Minnesota and Dallas are really, really going to fight to be that wild card team. Know if LA will hang on to it, kind of deal. But that's how I view it. Like, the East, a little slower. They're more balanced, as in, like, you can have 4 and 4 teams every year, make it consistently. There isn't too much movement. There plays really well. You could have them as one. Minnesota looks to be bouncing back and how healthy they could be one. Nashville could be one. Winnipeg could be one. Like, you just don't know. St. Louis is on the coming back. They could be one. Like, you don't know where those teams are going to be. So, that's how I view it. Not as the East just has, to me, a little more tradition. So it's just kind of more traditional. You got Boston, you have New York, you have Montreal. Like, it's more like, these are the traditional kind of games. These are the traditional teams. These are the teams that we expect to make it. And then in the West, it's like, we'll just see who gets there. It's a shootout every night.
It's the Wild West, you know.
It is the wild, wild West. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That is our original draft for our 16 teams. I'm sure we're going to edit those out. Come around November, maybe make the first amendment of who's where in the rankings. Mm-hmm. We'll look back at the end of the year, compare these notes. Keep in mind, this is our first video. I'm going to be shooting a lot from college. He's going to be a lot at home. Maybe in December, maybe we'll shoot in person. You might get that luxury once every couple weekends. You'll get the luxury of us together in person. We will get better. Promise you. We will get a little bit better. We'll get a little more sound and fluid. Definitely follow us on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to us, like us, leave a comment. And bear with us, because it's going to be some growing pains. Let us know what we could do better. Let us know if you have any thoughts and opinions. And you should totally rank your teams of who's going to the playoffs and where they're going to be at. That's all I got.
Should be a good season, that's for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, don't forget, we are Fresh Ice. This is Fresh Ice. We're working on it. It is a mind project. It's our little mind baby. We've finally had it. You know, it was conceived a year ago, been forming. It's finally been born. Look, it's going to look really ugly because this is the parents of the child, and it just got hit with an ugly stick all the way. It is the ugly tree. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, that kid got hit with an ugly stick." No, we're the entire tree. This is the entire tree.
This is it.
I'm hoping. This is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the ugly duck. You know, really. You guys will be able to join us on that. Till then, you're just going to have to bear with the ugliness and just realize it's going to be really, really bumpy. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to look like Shrek. We're going to be Shrek. We're going to be Shrek. Letting you guys know that now. Give us the support. Give us the love. Let us know what we can be doing a little bit better. We'd love to hear back from you guys. Tweet at us. Follow us. Honestly, we're not photogenic, so our Instagram is going to have to be run by somebody else, or it's going to be posted once a month. So
we're doing the best we can.
Yes, we can. Oh, this is gonna be so weird. At least we're not posting on Christmas, like first video Christmas. We're hoping it gets better. Just bear with us. We'll figure out some outros. We'll figure out some intros.
It will be a polished rock by the time we get to the end of it.
Yeah, we're hoping we can do this. Honestly, I think we're gonna hope to do this all season, like day in, day out kind of thing. I know he's gonna be gone on Tuesday. Yeah, I know the hardest part is getting the ball started and then fixing your issues. So, if you hear if you hear background noise on my end, I live with 3 roommates. Sorry.
I try and trap myself in a room away from people.
Yeah, I'm in my own room, but the walls are super thin. So, the good news is the people above me do not they don't stop dropping like bowling balls, and they don't walk around with cement blocks on their feet until like midnight. So as long as we shoot in the day, we're good. And you think I'm joking? So if you ever hear like bowling balls or like cement blocks stomping around above me, it's the people above me. I can't control them. Yeah, we'll send all the links in the description below of like how to follow us. You can tweet at us.